Hello, Beth. How are you?
Hello, Nisam. I'm happy to see you.
Happy to see you, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to interview you.
You're welcome.
And friends, let me introduce you. Here we have Dr. Beth E. Baker. She is a pastoral counselor, artist, educator. She has devoted her life to reintegration of all that comprises who she is, so that all parts of her can show up and participate fully. Such a beautiful description. From this lifelong dedication, she offers highly skilled experience to her clients and students. She began as an artist and educator, adding over 7 decades of skills in communication, trauma abatement, play therapy, interdimensional, which is we can call as spiritual practices, and healing arts, which includes physical as well as psychological and intellectual levels. So you're not skipping any part, like it's a holistic approach that I have. It's really privileged to interview you, Beth. So she has been privileged to learn with eminent teachers, and she practices with colleagues of integrity. She is grateful to be dedicated to the highest good of all with who she interacts. So that's Dr. Beth A. Baker for us. And let us know more about her work from her own words. So over to you, Beth. Could you please tell about the trauma abatement work that you do?
Well, first of all, reflecting on hearing what you're saying, I feel like, boy, I want to go see Dr. Baker. She sounds good.
I agree. I agree. And that to 7 decades of skills is not a joke.
But you know, each one of us has amazing divine resources, every single one of us.
Yes.
So now regarding trauma abatement, trauma relief. So we come in saying, hi world, here I am, and boom,
Okay.
challenge, boom, challenge. So we're all acquiring challenges or traumas, depending on whether we are able to cope with our challenges or not. We refer to them as challenges and triumphs, or we say trauma and I'm suffering. It's the same thing. The difference is whether we have strategies that work for us to bring us into harmony with ourselves and one another and to enjoy our lives. In terms of trauma abatement, like so many of us who are in what I've been referred to as the helping professions, I began to seek out knowledge and information and training because I had my own needs. And if anyone you consult says they don't, then run away, because we all do. You need someone who can face his or her own state of having needs, just like all the rest of us. But in terms of trauma abatement, to get just a little technical, when I am in traumatic reaction rather than self-directed response, that means physically that I'm having a series of experiences that include imbalance in the nervous system. So we have the side of the nervous system, the parasympathetic, that helps us to calm down. And we have the side of the nervous system, the sympathetic, that helps us to be on the alert and run fast and move fast because there's an emergency. So obviously, if the emergency side of the nervous system is firing all the time or more often than we need it to, we're going to become exhausted and very distressed because it's like a state of emergency all the time. And you know, I haven't met anyone yet, as far as I know, who's too parasympathetic. That would be, you know, just too calm. But we want to have the balance between the two so that I feel like I'm showing up in my life, I'm ready to have adventures and able to be in my own calm while I'm in life. So that would be trauma abatement, is the set of skills and practices that we use to bring ourselves into that relaxed and ready state. And if we have been very injured, then to get some help to learn how to take the steps to live the relaxed and ready life.
Okay. Wow. You made it so simple. And could you please tell about the play therapy and how is it
Oh,
beneficial in the trauma work?
oh, who's that? Did
Yes.
something happen there? Yeah. So obviously, to all of us, we are every day confronted with many challenges, more or less. All of us are, and this life is serious. There's a lot of seriousness. There
Yes.
can be a lot of anger and frustration and sadness, and all of this matters, and it's to be honored. But don't we need relief? When we
Yes.
look at the living world, we see all kinds of fellow living beings. We call them animals, playing. Even animals in very serious situations, they experiment. Playing is curiosity. So play therapy is engaging the aspects of me that are ready to enjoy curiosity and to try things out, to be able to laugh, including laughing at myself.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm laughing at you. I hope I'm going to do so. I want to do it in a way that we both enjoy rather than at
Yes.
you in a hostile way. So play therapy engages all kinds of wonderful things within us. Our curiosity, it lights up parts of our brain that really don't get bright like that any other way. It brings our hormones that help us to be well and happy and ready to say yes to life. And it can change our situation from one where we feel like just everything is so serious to, oh, now I see how I can play with this challenge and have creative solutions.
Wow.
I want to credit especially my wonderful colleague who has taught me just about everything regarding play therapy, Joel Lamoure, Lamoure, a Canadian psychopharmacologist, a psychiatrist with whom I have been collaborating for the last decade. I have been very focused for many years on ready and easy skills, primarily EFT, meridian tapping, which is so simple and easy that any of us can use it. And Dr. Lamoure continued gently to remind me, why don't you try play therapy? I'm thinking, oh, it gets complicated. You have things that it gets complicated. And he said, well, just try it.
Okay.
And I want to give this example because it's such a revelation. We have lots of little muscles in our faces that either tense or relax involuntarily.
Okay.
Wait, it's not like I can say, now I'm going to relax my face. Well, it looks the same. He said, I want you to look at your face before, during, and after you do the play therapy that I recommend you to do, and tell me what you see. I looked younger because muscles in my face literally relaxed because something inside of me, we could refer to the inner child or the core being, there's a lot of different terms we could use, said, oh, look, life is good enough that we can experiment, be curious, and play. I guess it's okay to relax. Here, let's do it.
Yes.
And Dr. Lamoure himself at this time is going through a very serious challenge, a health challenge in his life. And we engage in a lot of play therapy. And I'll tell you more about it if you want to hear it, because we're
Yes,
all going to,
yes.
if you think about gray-haired, mature, supposed mature psychotherapists engaging in play for the serious purpose of healing. And we see, if we want to look clinically, we see differences like improved respiration, nervous tension reduced, improved sleep, reduction of depression, and I can go on. Play therapy is a golden treasure.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you. Because, the reason, one of the reasons to interview experts like you is that we will get to know like what is happening in the field of, like, say you are talking about, the name is play therapy, and you are working with the serious issues of life, and how beautiful connectivity it is.
Yes,
Such a wonderful.
yes.
Thank you very much. And please tell me about your vision, about the kind of work you are doing. What's your vision?
Oh. Well, my ultimate vision is a world full of living beings, of people who are completely at home with each of us, with ourselves. Wow. So that all the parts of who I am can feel safe and welcome and loved unconditionally to show up and participate fully. And I want to credit that quote to Joel L'Amour, because he said it. The first time we met in person, I was very assertive. It's like, let's do this and let's do that. And I had all these things, and he stopped me and he said, this is my vision for our collaboration, that all the parts of us will show up and participate fully. And I stopped and I thought, he's right. That's what it is. So in regard to my work, at one time, several years ago, in 2012, a decade ago, I had the vision for the International Trauma Abatement Project, ITAP. You can see for EFT tapping. And I had all kinds of ideas about how ITAP should be. And I charged ahead trying to make them happen. And then life happened to my project. Boom. It's a long story, so I'll spare you. But fundamentally, I had to make the decision whether I would completely shut down my cherished organization, of which I was director, for the sake of one of our participants. It's a long story, but it was a security issue in that person's life. And I made the decision that I would close my dream in that form for the sake of one of my team members. And I'm here to tell you today, zero regrets, because I'm thinking of one of my teachers from many years ago. She said, regarding eros, we think of eros as only sexuality, but it's the force of life. And she said, the little plant coming up through the tiny crack in the cement, she said, that's eros, that's the force of life. So although I shut down my big dream, my International Trauma Abatement Project, the green life of the outreach for trauma abatement, and for what's the other side of trauma abatement? It would be joy enactment. Wow. Because when we are relieved from trauma, we relax into our original divine origin state. And regardless of what I submit, what our philosophical, spiritual, religious, or whatever orientation is, we're all in this together, alive, we're all in life. And it appears to me that our most natural state is joy. And I mean that even in the midst of terrific challenges like we're all being confronted with now, natural exuberance comes up like a fountain, moment by moment. And when there's any lowering of the natural exuberance. When we have skills for addressing trauma, then we bloom again, and we have, this is called resilience. So it's not how many times I fall down or I get knocked down, it's how many times I get up again. And I would add, it's how many times I say, yes, I'm ready for play, even in the midst of trouble. And again, I want to emphasize, because we have listeners here who are experiencing very real and grave troubles, illness of children, loss of loved ones, fear for our lives, our well-being. And I will never minimize any of that. I have experienced quite a lot of high-level trauma in my personal life, and I've worked with clients and students who have as well. I really respect the experience of very severe challenges. And furthermore, I avoid comparing individuals' challenges. So if I were to tell you my history, and it's quite shocking, it really, my personal history has some shocks in it, and you'd say, oh, well, what I'm going through isn't nearly so much. And, you know, the implication is, yes, it does matter. Because, why? Because you matter. So we don't need to be saying, I have a big problem, you have a little one, to hell with yours. They matter from the heart because we matter.
Such a beautiful statement. And could you please give some suggestions to the trauma survivors who are not in the therapy, Beth?
Say again, please.
Could you please give some suggestions to the people who have been through trauma, but they are not under any therapy? So could you please give some suggestions?
Oh, are you saying like where to start? Like, here I am, I feel like I hardly know what to do. What do I do? Is that what you mean? Sure. So I've been in that state plenty of times. Now I'm going to speak in a range of options here. So first, disclosure, I really am Reverend Dr. Beth E. Baker, which means that I'm a pastoral counselor. Now, in doing that, I understand that my relationship with our sacred source, our divine source, is unique to me and yours is to you. I respect the cultural differences, the personal differences. So if I talk about what I know, it is because it's what I know rather than to push it on to you. So the first, last, and always, even if we have no idea how to do it, I most of all recommend that we speak to our origin, where I come from. And I'm putting my hand on my chest because I literally see the cardiac mind. We can talk about that as we go along. The heart as the center of where we come from in the cosmos. The brain takes the orders from the heart. The gut cooperates with the heart. These are the three minds, the neurological thinking systems we have in our bodies. But the heart is the center of it all. And I don't mean sentiment, I mean intuition, connection, and spiritual practice. So I want to say, in my own words, divine source, I throw myself on you. Maybe I have no idea. I'm completely confused. Maybe I've had bad experiences with religious groups or my own trying. Maybe I feel angry and bitter at you because life is hard. But would you please just let's get back to basics. And I want to come home to where I come from. I want to come home to unconditional love. And no matter how difficult this is, I'm going to give it a chance. And maybe I'm talking to divine source with rolling my eyes with like, oh brother, that's for silly people, or I'm afraid, or I have an idea maybe I'll get hurt if I trust, but try it anyways. A little story. I had an experience with this many years ago. It was a turning point for me, a terrible shock. And I felt that I could die, and I could have. It was that severe. And I said it aloud. I actually waved my arms and I said, whoever you are, anybody that is benign, who is good spirit, please help me right now. Get around whatever blocks there are in my mind or anywhere, just get to me. And within the hour, 3 separate people called me on the phone and said, I felt guided to connect with you. And one of them was a man who did energy work. And he said, may I help you? And it felt like a hand gently reached in my heart and lift my chest and lifted my heart. I do believe that he saved my life. There's no way I can prove this with a machine, but I know it. And that changed everything for me, because it meant that I didn't have to have the sentimental feelings about my spiritual practice. I didn't even have to know what I was doing. That divine love could get around every single blockage that I would have and reach me anyways. So that's fundamental. Now, to make it basic, you just throw yourself on your origin and you say, hello, here I am, help me. That's about it. And then now, if we're going to get into techniques, I always recommend EFT tapping, because it's easy, it's simple. When we're in a state of challenge and we're very occupied with all the things coming at us, we need something simple. And even simpler than EFT, just to get started where I actually am right now, is a skill from the heart math practice. Heartmath.com. I'm not affiliated with these folks, but I like what I see them doing. And you put your hand over your heart and you imagine that your breath is coming in and out from your heart as you hold your hand over your heart. And I have watched an individual in really severe trauma who had a heart monitor on the finger, and the heartbeat was very erratic. As soon as she did this, nice and smooth. So if you're experiencing trauma and you feel like you can hardly begin, hand over the heart and breathe in and out, like your breath is coming in and out of the heart. And then I recommend that you can learn EFT. It's simple to do. I was in a situation where a former spouse had left and I was in every way bankrupt. I mean, literally as well as physically, emotionally, so that I was so shattered that I would crawl on the floor over to the computer and watch a video of a man who's very good at it, Brad Yates. I neither recommend nor deny Brad Yates, but he's an old buddy of mine. And I just would watch him tapping, and I was trying, but it began to heal me. And other than that, there are a lot of very simple skills we can use. Do you want me to go on? I can name some more.
Yes, please,
Okay.
please.
So another is sensory reconnection. So when we're in trauma, we dissociate from our direct experience. This is a coping strategy that comes to us as little children when our nervous systems aren't ready to understand what we're experiencing. And we think of dissociation as a problem. We hear, oh, dissociation disorder, dissociation problem. But for a child whose nervous system is literally not developed enough yet to take on an adult-sized shock, to push aside, to take part of me when I'm a child and to say, here, you take that trauma and I'm going to pretend that you don't even exist. That's dissociation. And in the moment, it can save a child's life from literally dying from shock. So, but dissociation becomes a problem when it becomes something we're doing more than just very temporarily. Think of like a tourniquet is a good thing if you're bleeding, but you want to take the tourniquet off and get other healing. So we have a world full of ourselves with many, many dissociations. if I submit that if each one of us was completely associated, integrated with ourselves, we would have a paradise right now. Just a thought. But so I'm having a trauma. I'm really having a rough time with it. So as to recover from the dissociation that saved me in the moment, and to reintegrate with myself, sensory reintegration. So I will do this with my clients, particularly at the end of a very deep session, but you can do it anytime. I see what I see. What are my eyes seeing right now? What am I hearing? I notice what I'm hearing. What am I feeling? What am I smelling? Sensory reintegration. Feeling my feet on the surface that it's on, feeling my body where it's resting. If I'm sitting or lying down, I can feel the pressure of my weight and my body, and just to notice what I'm noticing. And just to be clear, when we reintegrate with sensory reintegration this way, we may begin to feel emotions that froze in the trauma. So all of a sudden I can begin to shake or to cry or to feel like I want to yell or punch something. This is perfectly natural. And this leads us to another set of skills. You'll meet other practitioners who are much more into this part of the practice, but I use it too, is that we notice that for any mammals, hi, you're a mammal, I'm a mammal, hi there, mammal, that when there is a big shock, there will be, if there's inability to fight or to run, there will be the freeze reaction. And if we notice, if we look at an animal that's gone through a big shock and has frozen, if that animal isn't killed or eaten, then the next thing it will do, it'll look as if it's having seizures. It'll shake all over, maybe make a sound of some kind. It'll just physically release that nervous energy. And I don't know about your culture, but in my Western culture, it seems to me like we would rather die of all kinds of disorders in our body than just simply be like the animal we are and just let it out. So, it can be wonderful to have even a little group of friends where you can cut loose and really roll around on the floor. I'm talking grown-up men and women, or make noise or wave your arms. And if you cannot find anybody else, I'm sticking my neck out here, call me. I'll do it with you. And you can see how that actually could, even though we're moving really serious emotions, that could lead into play. And we could find ourselves even in the middle of stress going into laughter. I've noticed that with the EFT tapping, that we could be in the middle of tapping on these terrible, I'm talking really heart-wrenching issues, and then we'll go, there's something funny here as well, and we just laugh. It's like, I'm still sad. I know this matters, but I just have to laugh. And that is a release as well. And other than that, taking a walk, even a little walk, noticing my breath. And I'm not talking about making big breaths or little breaths or whatever, just I notice my breath. And for my clients, my patients, and my students who have had a lot of conditioning to reject themselves, this I learned when I was at a Zen monastery from a wonderful, she was little, I'm tall and she was little, this little Swiss German woman. She says to me, Beth, I want you to do this. And she held her arms out really wide and slowly brought her arms inside. So I want you to do this, crossed her arm like a hug. And then the other way, she says, and I want you to do this. So and if a hug is too much, then I can look at my hand. There's a hand, there's my face. And slowly bring my hand towards my face. And if there's a lot of self-rejection, there will be individuals who literally will be tempted to self-harm. We know this happens. But if I can say, what if I let my hand, hello hand, what if I just let my hand, if I'm able, just gently touch my face? Just a tiny, tiny little moment of kindness. And if that's too much, bring the hand as close as possible and just feel like, you know, there could be kindness here. I might think about accepting myself. And I want to credit Dr. Patricia McConnell. What a great lady in EFT and psychology. And she's passed on now, but yes, what a shining star she was for me when I was beginning. That she would have us when we were doing the EFT tapping, rather than saying, I have this big affirmation. I have this, like, some of us, our souls are so tired that to say, I'm going to affirm this big thing is like the last straw. So why not say, I might do this. I might let this be easy for myself. I might not, but you know, it might happen. And then with very simple, down to earth things. How much water am I drinking? Even if I feel unable to sleep, can I get into a physical position, reclining or lying down, where I feel comfortable enough? Can I lie there and with my hand on my heart, doing the heart math breathing, and just let myself have as much rest as I'm able to manage while my nervous system is very highly stimulated. Do I have any persons with whom I can share the moment where, like you and I right now, we're on the different side of the world.
Yes.
But when I look at you, if I weren't holding my phone, I would make the namaste. I'll do it with one hand, namaste. I feel your heart and mine are connected beyond time and space, Nizam. Yes. We know that.
Yes.
And I agreed to interview with you because I could feel the radiance of you.
It's my honor to interview you, and I'm thoroughly enjoying. I don't want like, hey, that don't stop. Please go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, to acknowledge, to recognize when everything's coming really fast, it's like, I got to take care of this and I got to do that and I got to do that. We get very task oriented and we can lose track of our person orientation, our person connection. The great philosopher Martin Buber called it the I thou, the heart to heart connection. That if I can, even for a few moments, go, oh my God, here's another person. Here's someone who has thoughts and feelings and becomes scared and startled or laughs and shares love just like I do. Hello. Hi, Nisa. Oh yeah, we're here together. Oh, wow. Okay. Can you feel that? I feel lifted.
Yes.
Just really, really simple. Now, if I'm in a situation where I feel that I have no one else that I can look eye to eye with, then that's a really good time to say, Divine Source, I'm really isolated. I need to look into someone else's eyes and we see some acceptance for one another. Help. And even if in the moment there's no one, I've had plenty of times where I was stressed to hell. And I'm thinking, who could I talk to right now? There's no one. I know that there is someone. I know that there are people, even if I'm not talking to that person right now. And within myself, I see that person and I have a feeling of some connection. And I have literally had times when I've done that, when the individual afterwards has said, I felt you.
Wow.
I felt you.
So beautiful.
And we don't have to be special or spooky or supernatural or anything like that in order. This is very natural to do. About a year ago, I suddenly decided, I said, you know, people say supernatural, supernatural. I said, you know, I think I'm natural. Maybe you're subnatural. You're subnatural.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So we have physical things we can do, even sometimes to pour water. If I could take a shower, or if I don't have a shower, if my worldly conditions, to pour water, because when I weep, my tears come down. But when I'm very shocked, when I'm in a state of very great trauma, sometimes even the tears cannot happen. So I let the water help me to weep. Or if I can perspire, if I can sweat, then my sweating is a way of helping my body to release through weeping if I feel unable to cry. And if I'm a person who can let myself weep, because I know some of us do and some don't, that can help. Now, I want to give a caution to that, because some of us who've had very severe trauma, that can trigger a cascade of trauma flashbacks. And we need to know whether, does it feel better when I cry, or do I feel worse? Well, if it feels worse, then please make sure that you have more protection, and you have some assistance so that you can release your sadness without a concern about it triggering a cascade of re-traumatization. And disclosure, I have that issue, because I have had some really enormous trauma experiences in my life as a child. And when I do that, I'm taking care of the child part of me to make sure that the younger aspects of my person are safe enough. And I could go on for hours.
Amazing. That's the beauty of
the basket of trauma relief skills, and I love the simple ones. Now, having said that, the more complex ones are also very good. Some people benefit from EMDR, rapid eye movement desensitization. I didn't. For me, it was a nightmare, but it did me a good thing, because it led me. I didn't like the EMDR. It was like more traumatizing for someone like me. I'm not saying it is for everyone. And so I thought, well, to heck with that. And I went searching, and that's how I found EFT.
wow.
So, even the things that do not work for us can lead us to what does. And that leads me to another skill for trauma relief. And this one we may feel is really, it's like, well, are you sure? Perseverance. We could even say stubbornness. So if I'm so depleted that I can hardly sit up, or I can hardly stand up, even if that's all I can do, then I'm going to keep going. Because when we keep going, even if we're, what would you say, doing poorly, doing badly, or making lots of mistakes, or unsure, it's guaranteed if we give up, it's over with. But if we keep going, maybe we'll have more trouble, but maybe we'll have success. Yes. And I can guarantee you from my own experience that simply continuing, the Rudyard Kipling wrote the story about the elephant child, which was set in India. And elephant child used to say, woe is me, sags, bags, wrinkles and all. And my mom used to read this story to me when I was a little girl. Sags, bags, wrinkles and all, just as I am, I keep going anyways. I don't feel terribly intelligent. I don't feel like I'm a big success. Maybe I'm surrounded with confusion, but I'm going to keep going, because who knows? I may just find my solution. And I went from being a woman, a person who was shattered, to being Dr. Baker, who really, truly is I'm a wonderful resource for people who consult with me. And I don't say that to, like give myself a pat on the head. It's just true. I've been through all kinds of dark places and difficulties, and I have some wonderful tricks that everyone can learn and apply to him or herself.
Awesome. Thank you very much. It was such a beautiful advice, and these suggestions matters a lot. Thank you very much. And
You're welcome.
just one more question regarding, what is your advice to people who hesitate to seek the professional help because of the fear of re-traumatization. What is your
Oh,
suggestion?
that is, thank you, Nizam. That is an absolutely important question. And I appreciate your intelligence and compassion in asking that. First of all, I'm not going to reassure you that seeing a professional is going to be the best thing for you. I'm going to get real. Number one, my teacher, my senior supervisor for over 2 decades, Dr. Harvey Honig, a Jungian analyst, when we began together, I began as his client and then became progressively more in the work. He, a very dignified man, he looked at me one day and he said, Beth, the vast majority of people in our profession have no business being there. And there are a tremendous number of people who get the idea, who have gotten the idea that psychology is a place for them. And, you know, this can happen in any profession, but I think psychology is particularly a challenge with this. Get the idea that if I can solve my problems covertly through other people without admitting what I'm doing, you know, this is called projection, that I can get away with this and hey, I can make money at the same time. And look at me, I have my big degree and I'm all of this and I've got blah, blah, blah. And I'm behind this big desk and you're sitting in front of me. Run, do not walk from these people. And you know, your gut will tell you. So if an individual comes into a mainstream, and I'm really going to get a bit rough with the mainstream here because disclosure, it appears to me that mainstream medicine, psychology, and all related are taking a total dive across the whole world right now. We're seeing a lot of crashing failures. I hardly even have to describe it. It's so in our faces. But good news, this is permitting for the emergence of the genuine healing arts practitioners like you, Nizam, like myself, like my colleague Joel Lamore, like Carolyn Kraft, and I could go on naming the genuine articles. With all our sags, bags, wrinkles, and all, we have flaws, we have weaknesses, but we are genuine and real healing takes place. So restate your question again. I got lost.
Okay. Just my thank you for that. So my question is, like, some people have this fear of getting re-traumatized.
Thank you.
So
and I knew I was off track, so thank you for pulling me back on track. So yes, we can get re-traumatized, and in the course of recovery, we will have, even with the most skilled person, we will have the opening of feelings that have been closed and put on the shelf. The question is not, will I be re-traumatized, but will I have the skills and the support I need to unpack my trauma and to walk through it successfully? And the answer is yes. So what I would say to people who are legitimately concerned about being re-traumatized is choose a therapist who uses skills like EFT. And I don't mean just anyone, because I'm sorry, right now there are a lot of EFT people out there who are weekend workshop jockeys, and they're not skilled enough. So you want someone who knows how to use EFT, someone who admits to his or her own journey with trauma and is transparent with you, rather than I'm the doctor behind the desk, who the hell are you? That's no good. And I love these wonderful young men and women who are very exuberant and they wear beautiful fancy suits. I love them. But you know, if you're a person with trauma, avoid the shiny teeth people. So you've in my book, you have two different kinds of therapists. You have the people who look like they've never had a problem ever, and they talk that way, and it's all about affirmations, and it's all, we're going to make a lot of money. Well, you know, maybe there's something there, bless them. And then you've got what I call the three-legged dog. You know, if you've seen a three-legged dog, and he's running along and he's happy, and you go, gosh, how does that dog do that? He's only got 3 legs. That's amazing. And he's happy. Well, I'm a three-legged dog therapist. So you really want someone who has been through, or who has, at the very least, has deeply associated with those who have been through trauma, so that there's heart-to-heart understanding rather than up in the head. And then I would recommend strongly that you seek someone out who really practices direct connection with divine source, by whatever name, because we're not just in a psychological and physical world, we're in an interdimensional world. And at present now, we're at war. There is a war to destroy the sacredness and the spirit and the wholeness of humankind. So you really want someone who gets it about that underlying, unshakable connection with the sacred origin, divine source, God, and is able to be in the flow of that holiness, that sacredness, whatever that means. And you really want to watch out for people who are doing anything that feels like manipulation or gaslighting, dark or magic practices that are contradicting divine source. You want to stay away from that. And if part of your problem is that you've been involved in that, then you really want to get with a therapist who knows how to work with divine source, because you literally need deliverance from those interdimensional cords and hooks. But that's a topic for another day.
Yes. And we have spoken about trauma survivors and other stuff, but could you please, because you come from such a long decades of experience, what suggestions would you give to the therapists who are working with trauma related clients? How do therapists take care of themselves?
Oh, yes. So this is the best. You're a genius interviewer. This is the best question. Everything begins, proceeds, ends, and otherwise operates in how we are practicing ourselves. The moment I try to do anything to a client or a student that I have not done with myself, I'm going to make trouble rather than to help. Okay. So if you're a therapist, even if you think that trauma is not an issue in your life, and again, I'm wondering if anybody does, apply everything to yourself. Do it when you wake up in the morning. Do it when you're drinking your tea or your coffee. Do it in your sleep. Apply, apply, apply. The visionary French artist, the painter Marc Chagall, one of my favorites, his beautiful, exuberant, joyous paintings are a wonder to behold. He said, "Il faut toujours travailler, travailler, travailler," which means it is necessary always to work and work and work. Now, I don't mean by this labor. I mean to be in the practice every single moment, in the practice. So even when I'm goofing off and I'm watching an old movie, or I'm sharing silly jokes with a friend, or playing at a sport, I'm still in the practice, because this is part of my life. And the most fundamental practice of all is to be in the consent of self-acceptance,
Wow.
moment by moment. So every tension, every stress that I experience, if I lose my temper with you, or if I'm feeling some overwhelm, I can ask, where have I stopped expressing acceptance for myself? And maybe I'm so upset that I don't even want to. So in that point, again, I say, I might accept myself. So if you're a therapist, be your own therapist.
Wow.
And number two, I feel like I want to hold up my hand like a sacred action here. Senior supervision and peer review. Senior supervision and peer review. And I'm going to say it one more time. Senior supervision and peer review. This has fallen out of, in the Western world, the psychology practice. They used to do it. And over the last several decades, it's been eliminated.
Oh my God.
How do I think I'm going to be a force for sanity with my clients if I'm not checking myself against those who have, now perhaps there isn't anybody who has more skill than I in every way, but in some way, I can have, each of us can be senior supervised by one another in something. Definitely, when I want to change the windshield wipers on my Jeep, anyone, I think even a turtle would be senior supervision for me there. I'm no good at it. You see what I mean?
Yes.
I need help. But then peer review, to have a network of colleagues with whom I can bounce things off for myself. And also I can bring my cases, of course, with respect to the anonymity of my clients, to my peers, and I can hear, even if the other person's perspective is something that I don't accept, it's still valuable. Senior supervision and peer review. I know I'm repeating myself. And then the other is take good care of yourself.
Yes.
I fall short of that. I do. But I wait a minute, I need to take care of me, because in all of our relationships, the upper limit of our effectivity, which is another word for that, is love, unconditional love. The upper limit of our effectivity is how much we're giving to ourselves. And we are never selfish in taking care of ourselves. That is the resilience foundation. That's the strength that from which flows our strength that we share with others.
Thank you very much, Beth. I don't know how to thank you. Such a wonderful conversation, and I had been longing for this to happen, and finally it happened. It is such a beautiful conversation, and I hope a lot of people will get benefited from this. And thank you very much for transparently sharing. Here you did not like, okay, I'm Dr. Beth E. Baker, I'm a perfectionist. Let me no, you have unmasked, you said you have also gone through a lot of trauma by yourself. Then you are under supervision, you seek help, and also you are helping. That is transparency we need these days. It's not about playing game of perfectionist with a mask. No, transparent. Thank you very much for your
Transparency. Yeah, may I please say how individuals may get in touch with me? I
yes.
do not have a website. I want to caution everybody. Goes, where's your website, Dr. Baker? I don't have a website. Perhaps I shall at some point. Hello, would anyone like to help me make a website? I would love that. But in the meantime, I am readily available through Telegram, and it's Dr. Beth E. Baker on Telegram, through Facebook. And in Facebook, it's the red beret. You may PM me. That's just fine. Email is drbeth.baker@gmail.com. That's drbeth.baker@gmail.com. You're welcome. All of you are welcome to contact me. Our initial conversation is without charge, because so we can get to know one another. After that, we figure out what we want to do. I train other practitioners. No, I don't have a certification. No, I don't have a big program with a big shiny gold sticker on it. All I have for you is your own competence.
Wonderful.
That's it. Yeah, and I work with individuals, and we always, if it's right for us to work together, we always find a way.
Wow, awesome.
Because that's how love is. Love always finds a way.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make your social media and email address available in the YouTube description as well. So friends, whoever is watching, here is the two things. If you are a therapist or a coach, Beth has personal mentoring sessions, is what, am I correct, Beth? And second one is, if individuals who are seeking for professional help, both ways you can contact Beth.
I work with individuals, with groups, and I particularly love to work with families. I was told years ago that therapists are terrified of families, and I thought, well, maybe I just don't have the sense to be afraid, because that's where all the goodies and the juice are, in the family.
Awesome. Thank you once again for your time, Beth. It was wonderful talking.
Oh, it's an honor, Nisam. It's an honor, and I look forward to collaborating with you in every way that best serves us in future.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.